Hey guys, the Gears R1 coming at you with another video on my outboard Mercury 20 horsepower motor. Today I wanted to do a video on how to change your gear oil that's down here. I've used this motor for about 4 years now, and every year I do an oil change at the end of each year or the start of the year, depending on how much I used it. But this year I used it quite a bit in the ocean, so if there's any salt water in there at all, if there is, I don't want it sitting in there. So this year I'm doing it at the end of the year. It's something that you should probably do every year to make sure that everything stays properly lubricated and working correctly. So today, what you need is for tool wise, you basically only need a flathead screwdriver. Sometimes these can strip, so it's a good idea to maybe have one that's a punch screwdriver. I don't have one of those, but I'm just using a regular screwdriver, like a large flathead screwdriver, to take this apart. With this, you're going to need some gear lube. I use the Quicksilver Marine high performance gear lube. You're going to need a pump to pump it in from the bottom when you drain it, and yeah, so I'll show you how to do that when I get to that. One thing you want to make sure is that the motor is warmed up. I'm going to do that right now because I'm also going to do an oil change. So if you want to check out how to do an oil change on this motor, check out my channel. I've got a video on that, and I'm also going to be doing another video on how to remove a stiff or like a tight oil filter. So for now, I'm going to warm it up, and then I'll show you the steps you need to do to drain your gearbox. Okay, so one thing I wanted to point out, when you're warming up your motor, so you don't forget to do this, you can't just fire up your motor to get it warm. You have to have water going in through the intake here, so that your impeller can keep the motor nice and warm. I like to use these, and I cover up the holes real nice, and I just turn on the water. I let the motor run for about 5-10 minutes. You let the thermostat open up, and that way your whole motor gets flushed. I flush this every time I use it in salt water, but I just wanted to make sure that you did that properly so that you're not just firing up your motor and potentially burning out your impeller or your motor getting too hot. So I'm gonna warm it up. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, here I am warming it up. I don't think you have to warm up the gearbox, but I am warming mine up just because I find that it helps the oil come out a lot faster. I am also doing an oil change on my motor as well, so that's one of the reasons why I fired it up. But important things you need to do is make sure that those earmuffs go over the intake of the water, and that you have water coming out here from the spit, and also from there as well. You can see water's coming out of all those locations, so it's getting the proper amount of water. So I let this run for about 5 minutes. I put some fuel stabilizer in the gas, so that because I won't be running this motor for several months, and it's good to have fuel stabilizer in there to help make sure that your carburetor doesn't get all gummed up. So yeah, let it run for about 5 minutes. I'm going to do the engine oil first, but for that video, check out that video on my channel. I'm going to do that first, and then I'll do the gear oil. Okay, so I've got it all warmed up. The first steps I'm going to do is make sure I've got a pail there to catch all the oil. I found last year when I did my gear oil change, I just used a ratchet with a little bit more side torque so that you could loosen the bolts. So the two bolts that you have to loosen are these ones right here. So you just loosen it. I loosen both at the same time. And a few things you want to watch for, obviously, when you're draining this, is to make sure that there's no water in the oil. Obviously, a little bit of water might get in from where I just since I had the water going, but I still just want to make sure, watching the oil itself, that it doesn't have that milky texture to it. Let it loose. Okay, so typically you can take the bottom one out first, and then once you loosen the top one, it'll all come pouring out of there. So just to show you the oil, as you can see, it looks pretty good. It's pretty dark, but it has no milkiness to it. You know, it's important that you make sure you replace the seals both here. As you can see, the seal's right there. It's stuck on there. I got a new one, so you'll take these seals off and replace them with new ones. So there's one on the bottom as well. So we'll just let the oil drain all the way out, and then we'll put the new stuff in. Okay, so all the oil for the most part is all drained out. As you can see, a little bit still weeping out, but you know, and one thing again, you want to make sure there's no milkiness in the oil. You want to make sure there's no metal shavings in the oil. I have neither. I mean, this motor is about 4 years old, and I mean, it looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. I used it. I probably put easily 200 hours on this oil this year. I mean, I used it for quite a bit of fishing in the ocean. So, a couple things: get your washers out. Make sure you buy new ones. I'll show you the number here for this particular motor. This is a 2015 20 horsepower Mercury. So this is the oil. So I took the bottom one out as well. I can't really see it. I don't know if you can see it in there, but it's out. And for the most part, the oil is already out of the gear oil. So now we'll fill it back up and put new washers on. So I'll show you what the washers sort of look like. So this is the washers here. I don't know if you can see it. That's the part number, and they're just going to slip over top of these bolts. And then these are the old ones here. Again, don't reuse these; they will leak on you. So you want to make sure that you get some new ones. All right, so let's talk about the pump here. So the pump comes with, this pump is good for most of the motors. It's got an adapter that you can put in. This one is for my motor here. It has to go in through the bottom here because this yellow piece is the wrong threads. So it doesn't work just by itself. So you need this adapter that comes with the package of stuff that the pump comes with. So it's pretty simple. You put the pump in to the bottle, and then you attach this to the filler plug right there, and then you attach the yellow to the adapter. So let's see if I can get a good angle here. Okay, so I'm gonna screw this in first. I mean, it's pretty simple. You just putting it in there so it's nice and snug. It's not gonna leak. I'll put the pump in the oil itself. And my motor needs 370 milliliters, but it's pretty easy to diagnose how much oil you're putting in because it's gonna come out of the top hole when it's done. So just put it in there like this. You should always refer to your manual if you have one for your motor. Make sure you're doing it properly. I refer to mine all the time. I've already got my washers pre-ready to go. So basically, all you're going to do is just pump it until you see oil come out of this hole here, and it should be about 370 mils. So you just pump it, feel it start to build pressure. The key to this is you don't want to get any major air into your gearbox, otherwise it will obviously not fill up to the proper parameters. So I'm just pumping it till I'll see it come out of the top there, and then I'll put the top screw in. And then you always put the top screw in first, and then you do the bottom screw. There's another method. You can buy the tubes and push it from the bottom. But I find this pump is the easiest way to do it, and that way you know you're getting the maximum amount of oil that your gearbox can handle, or the proper levels anyhow. Now you can see it start coming out. So every time you pump it, a little bit of air comes out. You want to pump it till there's no more air coming out. Okay, so that's all done. I'll put this down real quick. Make sure you don't cross thread it. Put it in there straight, and just make it so it's snug. You don't have to go crazy tight right off the stop. Let's start. And then I have the bottom one ready to go, so that when it starts to come out, it's good to do this a little bit at a time. You want to be pretty quick on putting it in there so no air gets in there. It's pretty slow to come out. Again, watch you don't cross thread it, because you will have some leakage for sure if that's the case. Okay. Wipe my hands because they're all oily, and then I'll tighten it up. Again, it's a little easier with the ratchet to tighten up the bottom bolt, just because you can get a little bit more leverage, but you don't want to over tighten it. You just want it snug so that it doesn't leak. Tighten the top one. Alright. So, obviously things that you have to watch for once you use it is that there's no leaking. It shouldn't leak with a new seal, but if you pinch the seal or whatever, there's always that potential. So I've got the top one done up and the bottom one's done up, and so now I'll just watch for any leaks. I leave it in my garage over the winter in one place, so I'll know if it's leaking at all, and then that way I know that it's done correctly. So, but yeah, if you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment below. Yeah, for all my other videos on this motor, you can check it out on my channel. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and like button, and thanks for watching.